Welcome to the Leadership Sparq podcast, where we equip you to be the great leader your people deserve. I'm your host, Hampton Dortch, joined by my co-host, Towe. We have a little bit of data to kick us off today. Did you know that when sharing information with people, roughly 56% of it is forgotten within 1 hour? So as a leader, when you share information, over half of it's forgotten within an hour. 66% of information is forgotten after a day. And then 75% of that information is forgotten after 6 days. So we clearly understand that lots of information is forgotten. And as leaders, we need to understand how to communicate in a way that really sticks. And what we know is that using stories can really help with that.
Yeah, that's kind of sobering data, Hampton, because like as leaders, we say a lot, but the reality is people forget most of what we say, which makes communication challenging because when we communicate, we're communicating with a purpose, with an intent. We're communicating in a way that hopefully moves people to think a certain way or take a certain action or rally around a certain idea or vision that we have. And so if we're fighting up against this idea that people forget most of what we say, then that can become a big challenge when it comes to communicating. And so that's where story comes in, and why story and using stories is such a powerful way to communicate in a way that actually moves people directionally where you want them to go. And that's because stories really speak the language of our hearts. If you just think about it, we're wired to think in story. We're wired to process our world in story. We're wired to share our ideas in story. And I really believe that as a leader, the best storytellers will become the best leaders because their messages will stick. People will remember the messages, they'll remember what it is they're trying to communicate, and they'll get more results from their communication. And so, if we learn as leaders to develop our storytelling skills, it'll help us communicate in a way that ensures we as leaders are understood, that we as leaders are interesting, and that we as leaders inspire change. And when I think about the role of a leader is to do those things, right? It's how do we communicate in a way that's memorable, impactful, and personal? And that's what we want our communication to be. And the best tool, the best method to use when communicating, if you want to be memorable, impactful, and personal in how you communicate, is to use story. And it's something that I've learned throughout the years is how can I become a better storyteller and to be able to connect that contribution and that connection that people have to what I'm communicating in a way that moves them, or a way that impacts them, or a way that helps them remember what it is I'm saying. So I know you have some examples of how that's played itself out for us, but story's powerful, and I think you're about to share an example of that.
Yeah, if you're listening to this and you are a Wild Sparq user, you know this. If you're not, I'll go ahead and tell you that we love stories, and some of the best ways to share stories is actually through movies. Movies are some of the best stories, and so we use those clips often. Well, a peek behind the curtain to our internal team here at Wild Sparq. Corey is our VP of operations. So every quarter we have a quarterly offsite where we're kind of casting vision into the next quarter for what we need to do as a business, what our goals are, what our vision is. And Corey's first offsite that he led, I believe it was Q4 of 2021. So a couple of years ago, he brought this to the table, and every single employee I know remembers it today because of the way that he leveraged stories. So during our offsites, we're doing a lot of collaboration. There could even be some healthy conflict as we're making big decisions on the direction that we want to go. And so what Corey did is he showed a clip from Ted Lasso. We all love Ted Lasso. Corey really loves Ted Lasso. I mean, who doesn't? But he showed a clip, for those of you that know Ted, of him throwing a dart and just being an unbelievable dart player. And the person he was playing had no idea. And not to go too much into detail, but Ted Lasso won a huge bet because of that. And the whole point of that is he looks, and it's this classic line to the guy who's playing, and he said, "Hey, be curious, not judgmental." And that one liner has been a huge influence on us at Wild Sparq. As you know, we step into these offsites. Every single offsite, Corey says, "All right, what do we want to do today?" And everyone says, "Be curious, not judgmental," all because of that one story you told a few years ago.
No, that's awesome. And so the go and do today is try it. Practice using story whenever you communicate. Think of a way that you can use a movie scene or use a personal story or somebody else's story to be able to help your message connect, because I guarantee you they will remember the story. They may forget a lot of what you say, but they'll remember the story, and it'll help your communication stick.